I'm not very good at reading minds, but I can already tell what everyone is thinking. They're all thinking, what are you doing? Why do you keep adding project cars? When are you going to finish the cars you've already bought? Why are you doing this to yourself? Well, I have no clinical diagnosis. There's no name for whatever is plaguing me. And truthfully, I have a bucket list of cars that is much longer than the list of cars I already own. But I am confined by space and money and time. And this isn't particularly big. It was cheap, and it doesn't need a lot of time. So that's my justification. The real reason is that I love 80s and 90s cars. I love them. I don't care how much money I ever make, ever in my life. I won't go out and buy a fancy Lamborghini or Ferrari. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to go out and buy any new anything. The older cars are what I like. And for the money I could spend on those new cars, I can buy at least like 35 cars like this. So anyway, I bought a Corvette. I've had a C3 before. It was a white 73 L48 close ratio 4-speed. It was a really cool car that I wish I drove more. It just needed more work than I was capable of doing, both financially and actually physically. It needed a bunch of rust repair, and I'm not very good at that. I also had a white 99 Corvette. It was a rescue mission. I bought it from some derelict house. It was a really sad story, but the car is in loving hands now. And that kind of left me with a hole for one of these cars. I always loved C4s. And there's a certain spec of C4 that I always wanted. I really wanted like an aqua on black manual with the good seats. Beggars can't really be choosers, and I didn't pick white for my other two cars, and, well, I'm actually kind of happy it's white. This is a white 95 Corvette. It's a 6-speed manual, and I bought it from the auction wrecked. I had no idea its condition. I mean, okay, you can kind of ascertain from a Carfax, and you can look at all the pictures. It came out of Little Rock. I'm sure someone might know someone that owned it. I don't really know. But it has all of the options I want. It's got the good seats. The interior is practically perfect. And I feel like I got a really, really good deal on it. These cars and manuals bring pretty decent money, 8 to 10 grand, usually on the low end of things. And I paid less than half of that. Less than half. And let me show you how many miles are on it. So I've got the jump box on it. And it doesn't want to do anything. What is happening? Oh, okay. In order to get the mileage on this thing, I had to do some stuff. There was no mileage in the Copart ad at all. So let's get this hood off, and I'll show you what I had to do and why there was no mileage shown. This is not going to be pretty because I am just one guy. But maybe. That's perfect. I'll show you what happened here. So this car was actually wrecked into one of those cable barriers, I suppose, on the highway. And then Mr. Fireman came up and decided to play with his wire cutters, which, look, I'm not sitting here blaming anybody for this. I understand there's protocol. It just makes things a little more difficult, and it actually worked out in my favor because if people knew how many miles were on this car, they would have paid a lot more for it. A lot more. So we're just kind of fixing it the wrong way by jamming the wires together. We've got to reattach those two, and then I will show you the mileage. Just kind of... Nothing's metal on this car. Stick to something. There, that'll work. Okay. Again, we're going to have to fix all of this. What is happening? Oh, the headlight motors. All right, now we can power this thing up, I think. All right, let's power this thing up here. Look at that. 48,199 miles. I did not expect that. I knew the miles were low based on the Carfax, but the previous recorded miles were 6 years ago or 5 years ago. So I had no idea that it was this low. And if you look at the interior, it all is so nice for one of these. These are usually super tight and taut, and the seats are soft. Little outer bolster wear. But I mean, even the shift knob is nice. Everything's in good shape. Also, they had like 30 blown fuses in it. So this was a lot of fun to power up. There is just one caveat here. Well, that wasn't the caveat. Let's figure out what the heck happened. It's probably this. It was this. Let's go to this big bolt right here. We are still dead in the door nail. Ah. Yes, headlight motors, do your thing. So what I wanted to show you was it ain't got no spark in it. I know it's got fuel, I can smell it. No spark. What could possibly be wrong with an LT1 that would make it have no spark? I just can't think of anything. Nothing comes to mind. Now this is a little bit of a different type of project for me. Most of my project cars are cars that no one else would fix, ever. My E46 M3, yes, now people might fix it, but when I first bought it, there were a lot of people that were looking at it as a parts car. And now that I've put all of the time into it, it's finally, it's great. It's fantastic. Unlike the Mystic Cobra, I can actually find someone to paint parts for it. Or, I don't know, maybe I'll find a white hood. Unlike the 928, there haven't been a whole bunch of previous owners that have done some bad things to it. So, it's just wrecked. And it has no spark. Can't be that hard to fix, right? No. So today we're going to tear this thing down. We're going to find out why it doesn't have spark, because this has to be mobile before I can take it home. I don't want to tow any more cars with my lawnmower because I have to cut grass with it, and I don't want to push any cars in my driveway. So we got to get this thing running, and I'm going to use my $20 El Cheapo test light that I love like my left hand. Wait a minute, that sounds wrong. And we're going to figure out why this has no spark. Can't be that hard. So the first thing we're going to do is look up the wiring diagram. Now I do have some inclination as to what's wrong. The tack does bounce when you crank it, so that is a good sign. I just need to actually diagnose this instead of just throwing parts at it, because I don't like carpet bombing anything. And it's a 95 Corvette. We're going to go through all this. Engine performance. I'm looking for the coil wiring. It could also be a fuse, so can't rule that out. It has a whole bunch. The check engine light is on, and the key is on, so that's good. Where is the coil? Oh, here we go. So it looks like it should be, the pink wire should be hot. So we should be seeing 12 volts there. I don't know if it needs to be cranking. Let's see. Hot and run. Okay, so there's a coil fuse. So we'll check that if we don't have 12 volts here. And then we got to check. It has an ignition module that's right next to the coil. That has the ground, it looks like. And then where does the ignition control go? Okay, so let's check to make sure we have power to the coil. And we'll go from there. Coil fuse. I know it's here. Coil, 10 amp. Fuse number 25. Okay, the fuse is good. That doesn't mean that we're getting power to it, though. Let's see here. I need to ground this somewhere where there's a ground. And this car is fiberglass. All right. Using some extra wire. Okay. We have voltage to the fuse. Well, let's see. Where's the coil? There's the coil right there. The coil has power, so that's good. Now we're going to get that connector plugged back in, and then we're going to check the ground on the ignition module. Will you go to your home? So where now I'm using the power to the coil and the ground from the module, and Yeah, I know it's backwards, but we have power and ground. Well, I picked a pretty crappy day to forget my spark tester. So we're going to just put on the plug wire on the coil. Hopefully I can do that easily. And then we are going to see if the coil is putting out spark. I'm going to guess no, but I don't know, which is why we're doing the test. All right, I've got it set up to where I have a plug wire coming right off the coil to a plug, and then it is headlight motors. We're going to see if we have spark here. I won't be able to watch this, but I will be able to replay it on my camera. It's like having two people here. I mean, maybe I can watch it. Well, that's not where I wanted the spark. That was a ground. Okay, so there's smoke coming from my jumper cable, and I did not see spark whatsoever at the plug. My jump box is dying, but I got no spark. Having one of these cars at my disposal is going to be critical in putting my other car back together. This car is going to donate its rad stack with the AC condenser, the fans, the AC lines. All of those parts are going to come from this car, the airbox, because mine are damaged, but this is okay somehow. This took a direct hit to the wheel, damaged the frame, and totaled the car. So I got to apologize for the sound. Neighbors have a really loud fan, but it's okay. Let's go ahead and get this stuff unplugged. I'm just going to take the entire coil and module out of this car because I really don't want to replace the Opti if I don't have to. Like I cannot explain how much I don't want to do that. It's pretty high on my list of things that I won't enjoy. Perfect. It's gonna be really handy having a donor car here. It's like my own personal junkyard, but I have to make money here too. There we go, coil and ignition module. All right, now that it's quiet in here, let's make some noise and get this coil out of the way. The old one, we get the new one in place. And I don't know that this is going to fix it, but with power and ground and no spark at a plug, I'm inclined to believe that this could be the area of issue. Well, there's certainly a lot less room in here now that it's wrecked. Okay, now that sneaky bolt on the bottom, hopefully we can get that off. All of this stuff is pushed in. I'll get this out of the way here. Save that for later. I kid, of course. Okay, I can touch it. That doesn't mean I can get it out. Well, this one wasn't fun. But we're getting it. This isn't fun at all, but I can get this out and then use my fingers on that bolt. Oh, of course not. That would be silly and crazy. Gotcha. Now I got one bolt left. Hold the coil on. That one's easy now that the power steering bracket is out of the way. Or the reservoir, I should say. Now keep in mind, I'm going to have this whole front of the car off. So I'm not really worried about putting it back together perfectly. I just want to hear it run so I can move the car when I need to. Okay, here's the old one. And I mean, it doesn't look necessarily bad, but you can't always tell. And here's the new one. When I say new, new to the car. I'm just going to put the 2 bolts that hold it to the head in. The rest of it will go later when I have the front of the car off. It'll just be easier that way. All right, now we just got to plug everything in, put the jump box on it.
Okay, so we're going to find the plug wire. Right on there first. Okay, and then the coil connectors. These kind of like lock with each other.
Yeah, it's on there. I don't know if that's going to work or not. But there's only one way to find out, right? Okay, here goes something.
Please, baby. Aw, that ground, man.
It's probably not going to be enough. One of these times is going to work.
Womp, womp, womp.
Battery is not strong enough. I gotta find my other jump box. Okay, now let's see if it'll start. I don't know if I got enough juice here. Both of my jump boxes are not strong, so I have a battery, some jumper cables, and this other thing. Okay. So, no. There we go. Got some voltages from that thing. Let's see what happens. Come on, baby. Yeah! So it has a little exhaust leak. I don't know what's so loud. Something is bad in this area. I think I'm going to shut it down. Well, it runs, but why is it so loud? I mean, it's like super loud. Oh, it's spraying stuff off. It's coated. What is it leaking? Did it break something over here? Uh-oh. Well, there's a coolant temp sensor or something. Something bad happened in this area. It's not a good sign. Oh, no. No, that's bad. The coolant temp sensor is broken off. It looks like it's melted off. Oh, it's probably spraying coolant out of it. That would explain everything being wet over here. Well, I'll have to address that. The plug wire is disintegrated completely, so that's bad. So here's the destroyed plug wire. That's bad. And then there's other melty stuff in this area. There's clearly a loud exhaust leak. I think this was probably done by exhaust. I don't know if the accident broke something. It's really not that hard of an accident, so I wouldn't imagine that was what did it. And then the water thermosensors melted off the side of the cylinder head. So I'll have to get a new one of those, some new plug wires. And we gotta figure out where that noise is coming from, because the last thing I want to do is put plug wires on it and then torch them again. All right, we're gonna start this one more time. I want to make sure it's got oil pressure. Oh yeah, got oil pressure. That's good. There is a rather unfortunate reason as to why this car is pushed into the corner of the shop. For For those of you that caught the way it cranked, didn't sound so hot. And then when it first fired up, the amount of steam that came from this part of the engine compartment, those were both really ominous signs. And this car has a blown head gasket. I think what happened is it crashed into a cable barrier and it breached the cooling system, destroyed the radiator, and then no one shut it off at all. And then it ran and it overheated. It blew a head gasket, blew an exhaust manifold gasket, which torched through a plug wire and the water thermosensor. And when it torched through the plug wire, the plug wire grounded, which killed the coil, and then the car wouldn't run. And then probably because of the amount of steam coming from this thing, the blown head gasket and running and overheating, someone came over and thought it was smoke and cut the wire harness. All of that means there's a little bit more work than I had planned on. It seems to be a trend with me. I buy a car, should be a one-day fix if I have all the parts, and now it's a build. Don't feel sorry for me. I do this to myself, and I still smile through it all because I love this stuff. Now, there will likely be a series of videos on rebuilding this car, and I'll probably do some while you're in there things when I have the heads off. We'll see how far it really gets or how crazy I get with it, but I still can't wait to drive this car. This is one of the car projects I'm most excited of getting done. I have no plans of selling this car when I'm done. This will hopefully be a permanent part of my fleet of 90s cars and early 2000s stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to have another video very soon on this car, a whole series of them actually. I'm not going to wait months between videos. They'll all get done in timely fashion. I promise this time. As always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.